What's going on, everybody? Haunted Beard here. Welcome back to my channel, and thank you for joining me today. Today, I want to talk to you about The Menu. This is one of three movies that was remaining on my watch list for 2022. Just became available on streaming, and I want to talk to you about it today. This is going to be a spoiler review, so just want to make sure you are aware, you have officially been warned. Without further ado, let's get into this thing. So The Menu stars Anya Taylor-Joy, Nicholas Hoult, and Ralph Fiennes, and it tells the story of a young couple who travel to a remote island to eat at an exclusive restaurant where the chef has prepared a lavish menu with some shocking surprises. And first thing I'll say is The Menu does horror comedy the right way. I'm not typically a fan of horror comedies, but this is the way to do it. This is more of a satire and is filled with dark humor. And I'll say it's probably the best horror comedy of the year, at least in contention with Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. But The Menu just does a really good job of being genuinely funny while also not sacrificing any of the suspense and the thrills that come along with it. There's just a handful of funny lines. There's some really solid dark moments that are also funny that really just contributes to the overall atmosphere. Nicholas Holt's performance too, I got a kick out of quite a bit. Just his whole sort of body language and attitude towards everything that happens and unfolds in the movie, I just thought was pretty hilarious. And speaking of Nicholas Holt's performance, the performances here in this movie are really solid all the way around. The three main leads, Anya Taylor-Joy, I mean, she's always great. She's really solid in this as well. I just talked about Nicholas Hoult. I think his character is really good and funny. And Ralph Fiennes is really solid as well as this just obsessive chef who just, I'll just say, takes cooking way too seriously. And The Menu does a really good job creating a lot of intrigue and buildup. It does good at kind of slow building suspense throughout the beginning of it. And I avoided pretty much all the trailers and promotion for this, so I really didn't know where it was going. I obviously knew that it involved food, and they were at some sort of, world-renowned chef restaurant, and it was a horror thriller. That was really all I knew. And the scenes between Ralph Fiennes and Anya Taylor-Joy's characters are some of the best and really stand out. Just the way they play off each other, they're just very intense scenes and very sort of creepy and suspenseful as you're not really sure where exactly this is going. And so the film just does a good job building intrigue and mystery and suspense up until the point where kind of the first sort of big surprise, big reveal is that one of the chefs in the kitchen blows his head off and kills himself in front of everybody. And then just kind of all hell breaks loose. And now what The Menu is doing here with its satire is there's some commentary to be had here on specifically sort of the world of high dining, but I think you can even expand it further into just sort of society in general and the way people look at art and the way people look at artists. And I think it brings up just kind of some interesting sort of themes and ideas and thought-provoking questions that it kind of gives you something to chew on, so to speak, that I think kind of elevates this above your average horror thriller. And I just kind of like what they do with the characters that are there at the restaurant, as each one sort of responds and behaves a little bit differently given the situation that they're in. And again, you can kind of expand that into a bit of a social commentary, but you kind of can look at like Nicholas Holt's character, and he views the chef as almost this like cult leader, as he can do no wrong, and he's just on board. He's this ultimate fanboy, and no matter what the chef does, he just thinks it's the most beautiful masterpiece ever. And then you've got the food critic, and she is just super pretentious and pompous and self-righteous and just analyzes everything to every last little detail and thinks her opinions are so much more important than everybody else's. And you've got the guys who are there who are rich and they just try to buy their way out of things and think the rules don't apply to them because they've got all this money and they can just do whatever they want. And there's a line in the movie that I think is pretty interesting, delivered by the chef, where he says, "How do you satisfy those who are never satisfied?" I think that pretty much sums up our society, to at least to a degree, right? And so it's just kind of interesting. I also like too that you get tidbits of everybody's thoughts and opinions. And I think it's just interesting too, because now in our world today, obviously, when any movie or anything comes out, everybody's got their opinion. And it's so easy to hear everybody's opinion. And the vast majority of people's opinions are just stupid and pointless and don't add any sort of value. And I just thought that that was kind of interesting and, again, sort of insightful and very telling. And so it was just kind of an aspect of this movie, too, that everybody has to have their opinion, and the vast majority of opinions are just, it just white noise. They're just stupid, meaningless opinions that you can just avoid altogether. Things progress, and you learn that the entire kitchen staff is basically there to take everybody hostage, and everybody is going to die by the end of the night. By the time they serve the, I think it's 5 or 6 course meals at the very end, everybody's going to get killed. And so it just becomes this kind of pretty intense, suspenseful, crazy sort of ride. There's another scene later on in the movie that I really quite enjoyed in a horrific, darkly comedic sort of way, where Nicholas Holt's character, who again idolizes the chef, he gets called out and is put on the spotlight to cook this meal in front of everybody, and he basically just has this like meltdown. He can't handle the pressure of it. And then the chef whispers something in his ear, and you can just see like his entire life just crumble and shatter. And then a few minutes later, you find out that he actually went in a back room and hung himself, which is just obviously extremely disturbing, but also I think very darkly comedic in a way, given sort of his character and just the expression on his face. And it's like, what in the world could Ralph Fiennes have possibly whispered in his ear to get him to go to the back room to hang himself? And so again, it just kind of, given the circumstances, it is sort of funny in a way, again, in a very dark, disturbing kind of way. There is a reason they tell you not to meet your heroes. Now, overall, I quite enjoyed the menu up until it got towards the ending. And my initial reaction of the ending was that it left me a bit unsatisfied. And it's mainly involving Anya Taylor-Joy's character and the whole thing where she does the clap and then puts in an order for a cheeseburger for the chef, and then he ultimately lets her go. And I kind of was confused by it a little bit. Like, I just wasn't entirely sure what to make of it. And it just kind of left me a little bit like emotionally unsatisfied. I do like the final ending though, when the whole restaurant blows up because he turns everybody into a s'more. I, again, thought was pretty funny. But the part with Anya Taylor-Joy, I wasn't entirely sure what to make of it. And upon further reflection, I think I've got a little bit of kind of what they were going for. In hindsight, I like it more than I did when I initially watched it. And so, to put it simply, she was the one who just kind of dared to tell the truth, regardless of the consequences. And she was the one who kind of dared to just cut through all the BS of everything and just order a cheeseburger. And I like, she dared to call out the chef that he was doing things out of obsession and not out of love of what he really wanted to do. And she orders a cheeseburger. And I just like that I think in a way it's kind of making a comment on like, just like what you like. If you like a $10 cheeseburger, that can be just as good as, you know, a $100 steak or caviar or whatever. And so it's kind of just like, she just cut through all the pretentious BS of everything and was just like, just give me a good classic cheeseburger. And I think something about that the chef respected enough to let her go. So upon further reflection, I think the ending works a little bit better for me than how I kind of initially felt when watching it. So overall, I had a pretty good time with the menu. I think it is one of the better movies of 2022. And so with all that being said, I think my final grade for this, I'm probably going to go, I'm close to an 8 on this one. So 7.5 to 8. So what the heck, we'll just say an 8 out of 10. So yeah, it's a pretty solid watch. Those are my thoughts. Hit me up down in the comments though. Let me know if you've seen it, what your thoughts were. Would love to hear from you. That's all I got for you today. If you like videos like this, hit that subscribe button. I would greatly appreciate it. That's what I do on The Haunted Beard. It's all horror and thriller movie content coming at you. And I'll see you next time on The Haunted Beard.